Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great myself because, sometimes I have these issues where, oh no, I'm running out of videos to talk about or whatever, but then the YouTube algorithm decides to bless me, and that is exactly what happened yesterday, because I found a video talking about why you should not buy a Series S. Now, in all fairness to the guy who made this video, some of the points were definitely valid. Like, I think for one of them, he said, like, oh, if you want to play physical games, which, I mean, that's a bit of an obvious one, but it is a reason. So this video definitely wasn't all bad. It definitely did actually have some informative stuff in there. But basically, you either had informative stuff that actually made sense, or you had these points that basically didn't make any sense at all and actually left me scratching my head. And so I just wanted to cover those ones, because again, this video wasn't all bad. And I think it is fair to point out this guy has also made videos where he gives reasons why you should buy the Series S. But we're not talking about reasons you should, we're talking about reasons you supposedly shouldn't. So without further ado, let's get into his first reason, which is actually his bonus reason. He basically gave 7 reasons and then an additional bonus one, but he gave the bonus at the beginning of the video, which was very nice of him. So yeah, let's check out the bonus reason.
So, the bonus tip, what is it? You should not buy one of these if you have no intention of getting Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate or any of the versions of Game Pass at all. Because, well, there's no disk drive. And so, unless you have a plethora of digital titles already, and if you do, then this video probably isn't for you. This is not going to treat you well. You have to buy games at retail or on sale, but digitally.
You see what I meant about this video just being like really confusing? Because it's like, oh, you shouldn't get a Series S if you're not gonna get Game Pass. And why is that? Oh, because then you have to buy games. You do realize that this is how all systems work, right? If they have a subscription service where you can get some games for a low monthly price, then great. But a lot of the time you're gonna have to buy the games because a lot of games do not go onto these subscription services. I don't know, the bonus tip just feels like a reach. Probably would have been best to leave it out in all honesty. Like, you shouldn't buy a Series S if you're not gonna get Game Pass, because then you have to buy games, even though that's how the Series X works, and that's how the PlayStation 5 works, and it's how PC works. If you don't get the subscription service with a bunch of games on it, then you will have to pay full price for those games. This argument just feels so backwards, and I feel like you could flip this around and make it make so much more sense. Like, hey, maybe if you're interested in Game Pass, and let's just say you're getting the Series S because you're on a budget and you don't have a ton of money to spend, get the Series S and then get Game Pass on top of it, and then you'll have access to hundreds of games for only 15 bucks a month. You see what I mean about this argument being so backwards? Like, I'm not even kidding when I say, my guy, it probably would have been better to just not have included this bonus one at all. Then again, I guess you could say that for the next few that we're going to be taking a look at.
You don't get to try them. You don't get to do any of that kind of stuff. Unless you have games with gold and you're just restricted to whatever they give out for free, you're honestly just not going to be able to save any money with games. So the money you save on the console, you end up making up for in buying games.
I am so unfathomably confused. You're not gonna save any money with games if you don't get the subscription service. Again, couldn't this be applied to any device? If you get, say, a PS5 digital to save some money, or let's say you get a budget PC to save money, but you don't get the subscription services available on them, of course you're gonna have to spend more money on games. Like, this isn't a reason to not get the Series S versus other consoles. Every single gaming device has this issue. Let's say you get it to save money, but then you don't want to get the subscription service available with it, then yeah, you're gonna have to buy the games. But also, if somebody was on that strict of a budget that they get a gaming device, but then they can't even really buy many games at full price, wouldn't they want to get like Game Pass or PS Plus or something? Or how about this? Let's say somebody maybe has like $500 to spend, and they're like, okay, I want to get a gaming device. I want to get like an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever. They could get the PS5 or the Series X, but then they would have blown their entire budget. Even if they wanted to get Game Pass, we're saying that their budget is $500, so even if they did get Game Pass, that would be exceeding it. So doesn't it seem likely that the person might have the thought process of, oh, I have $500 to spend, let me get a Series S for $300, and then I can either get Game Pass, or if the games I want aren't on Game Pass, I can use the remaining $200 that I have to get the games that I want. So yeah, not getting Game Pass is not a reason to not get the Series S. Man, that was a lot of knots. costs. Having to buy games at full price because you don't want to get the subscription service is just how consoles work. This would be like saying you shouldn't get a PlayStation 5 because you don't plan on getting PS Plus, because then you won't be saving money on the games. Like, no, just dumb argument. Dumb and bad. Stupid, maybe. I'm sorry, that was a bit rude. Anyway, next clip.
Thing number one, ladies and gentlemen. Thing number one why you should not get an Xbox Series S. This is your only console. There's no other consoles. Nothing. This is it. The Series S, nothing else. No Switch, no Xbox One, no Xbox One S, no 360. I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
So you shouldn't buy a Series S if it's gonna be your only console. My question is why? The Series S can play all the next-gen games, all the Xbox One games, 360, and OG Xbox games for only $300. Like, everything that comes to the Series X will be coming to this console as well. So if you're on a budget, this would be a great pickup. Now, if you made this argument about the Switch, I would definitely agree, because, you know, the Switch doesn't get a lot of big AAA third-party games, simply because it can't run them. But this console can run everything from this gen, last gen, last gen, and the first gen of Xbox. And anything that you had from your Xbox One will transfer over, and if an upgrade is available, then you'll get it, assuming you don't have to pay for the upgrade like with Call of Duty or something like that. So yeah, even if this is your only console, this is a great pickup. It can play all the third-party games that release on the Series X, but for $200 less. Now, obviously, you're going to be missing out on performance and stuff like that, but if that doesn't really matter to you and you're on a budget, then absolutely the Series S is a great decision.
Number two, you do not plan on buying any sort of external storage. And, well, the storage situation with this, even though this does have an SSD inside of it and it runs like a dream, it's still only 364 gigs of usable space. And that fills up really quick with the size of games these days. That being said, if you're not someone who wants to expand the storage and you want to utilize that SSD, the velocity architecture, the quick resume, all that stuff, and you don't want to transfer back and forth, the only way you can do that is with the Seagate memory cards. And the cheapest one, the 512 card, is $109, $110. We're excluding all sales in this, because of course if there's sales you can do many other things. But 110 plus 300 is $410, and a Series X is $500. And of course, with the 512 expansion, you get a little bit more than the Series X would allow you to have, which is 808 gigs.
So you basically just said you can get more storage for $90 less, and you're saying that's a negative thing. This is what I mean when I say this video just doesn't feel like it was thought out at all. Like, my guy, you clearly had to watch this back when you were editing it, right? Did you not actually watch and kind of just waited until like, okay, talking, number one, and then we write the text on the screen? Like, you just did the math and found out that if you got the Series S plus a 500 gigabyte expansion, you would have more storage than the Series X for $90 cheaper. So you could basically get a Series S with the storage of a Series X and still save $90. Which, hey, that $90 that you save, that's 6 months of Game Pass Ultimate right there. And guess what? If you decide to get the Series X, you already would have spent $500, and you wouldn't have had quite as much storage, and you wouldn't have money left over. Again, think, my guy, think before you speak. You seem like a nice guy, I like you, but you're making yourself look like an idiot.
So, yeah, 512 plus 364, around 876. If it's in a direct translation, I don't think it's direct, but let's just say it's over 850. But that still means that you have spent $410 instead of $500 on a disk drive list, and, well, less performance than the Series X. Might not be the best option. Okay.
So what's the problem here? You're spending less money on a console. You're losing out on some performance, but you're getting even more storage because you also spent the money on the additional storage, and you still save $90. Why exactly is this a reason to not get the Series S? You basically just said don't get the Series S because even if you buy additional storage, you'll have more storage than the Series X and you'll save $90. That's pretty much what you just said summed up in about 5 seconds. Look, I understand it's only fair. You made a video about why you should buy the Series S, so now you should make one why you shouldn't. But come on, man, you could have come up with better reasons than this. Or at least, like, don't leave these reasons in, because you made some other good points in this video. So just cut the bad ones and leave the good ones in. You know what? A for effort, but like a C for execution.
Number 4 is if you're someone who has, well, a nice TV. And by nice TV, I mean a newer one with HDMI 2.1, specifically HDMI 2.1, because HDMI 2.1 allows you to play games at 4K and as well as 120 frames per second, right? That combination is something we've all been looking at and everyone's been talking about. Though there are few games that allow you to do that, there are very few games that have true 4K native and 120 frames per second. HDMI 2.1 is required to see that high frame rate as well as higher resolutions.
Thank God this is the last point I'm covering because I think my brain is about to melt. Want to know what's so wrong with this point? This guy doesn't even explain his reasoning. He just says, oh, you shouldn't get a Series S if you have a nice TV, and then explains what HDMI 2.1 allows you to do, and then just moves on to the next point. Like, dude, did you accidentally leave out a segment where you talk about the reasoning behind your point? Like, this actually doesn't make any sense. So you should not buy a Series S if you have a nice TV, because nice TVs allow you to see up to 4K 120 FPS, which the Series S supports 1440p and 120 FPS. Like, what? I'm actually so confused. And I think this is as good a spot as any to end the video. So yeah, basically what we learned today is don't buy a Series S because it will save you money and because yes. I unironically think him saying don't buy the Series S because yes would have been a better argument than that one he made about the TV. So yeah, anyway, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.